move on to Poland.
Yes.
Where we have some other amazing or interesting news.
Yeah, Poland is really interesting. So there was a new prime minister elected in Poland in October, or he took office in December, and he came into a government that was completely controlled by the far right. They're called the Law and Order Party. Meanwhile, he's a left-leaning guy. His name is Donald Tusk. Awesome name.
So funny.
And he's part of the Civic Platform is the name of the party. That is really getting louder.
It is.
What is that? Do you know?
The radiator.
And you can't turn it off.
No.
Brutal. Okay. Anyway.
What? Look at that timing.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Okay, so Tusk comes in as the prime minister. Poland has both a prime minister and a president. I looked into their government for a little bit. I still couldn't really articulate to you exactly what the differences are. But basically, the prime minister is kind of like a check on power for the president. One of the ways that Tusk started checking the far right president when he got into office is by taking the state-run TV station online.
Hell yeah.
So the far right had turned this channel into a total propaganda arm for the past 8 years. Tusk got in there and he summarily dismissed the whole board. He took it off the air immediately, and it led to protests from far-right voters in defense of free speech, but he's not backing down on it, and he's actually reestablished the channel as something that's reporting more neutrally on news. Then, last week, or maybe 2 weeks ago now, Polish courts, Polish courts, they sentenced 2 members of the former government for abuse of power. Maybe they convicted them, which it sounds eerily similar to a political situation that I know about.
Right, a little bit. Right?
Yeah, exactly. But whereas here we have these debates on whether the Trump indictments are something that's good for law and order or bad for law and order. There are so many people who are in defense of Trump and who think that he is getting mistreated by the justice system, and think that these indictments are they are losing trust in the justice system because of the indictments of Trump. Meanwhile, since Tusk and the left-leaning party in Poland has convicted these former government officials, Duda, who is the far-right president of Poland, has had to initiate a process for pardoning his former employees, basically. Why this is important is because he had to acknowledge that they were actually convicted. He had been trying to fight the convictions and argue that they were unconstitutional, but now that he's initiating a pardoning process, it means he's accepting the convictions. So Tusk is getting in here. He's trying to clean out the government as much as possible. He's trying to maintain it as a democratic republic, make sure that the arms or the mechanisms of the state aren't completely consolidated within the far right bureaucracy or the far right leadership.
And I'll say this, the Law and Order Party was in power for a long time.
Yeah.
So they've entrenched their tentacles into every aspect of the government bureaucracy, specifically the court system.
Yes.
Right? They have appointed so many courts to this. And it's just making it that much harder for Tusk to do these democratic reforms. The Constitutional Tribunal, that's the equivalent to their Supreme Court, is actually led by a close friend of the leader of the Law and Justice Party. So, there is so much effort of fighting in these internal branches of government. And it's important for these fights to happen because Poland is currently being cash from the European Union is currently frozen.
Yes.
Because the European Union doesn't want to give money to Poland because of Poland's current democratic backsliding. So there's 100 million euros on the table. Not chump change, people. This is serious money that's being held away from Poland. And Tusk, trying to get that money back, is trying to go after the specific prosecutor who is in the parliament. And it's a whole issue because he's a member of he was a prosecutor, but he ran for parliament as a prosecutor, but he hasn't given up his prosecutor powers as a member of parliament, which you're not technically allowed to do.
Yeah.
So he's trying to get him thrown out of the parliament, but he keeps getting stonewalled by the court system.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy, right? Like there's so much working against him, but it is cool to see him in here, like and really putting in the work to try to fix it, because it's kind of all on his shoulders, right? The far right controls the presidency, they control the parliament, so he's the only really figure of significant power that the left has in government right now. The crazy thing though is that it's kind of it seems to be at risk of creating a dual governing state in Poland, because you have the prime minister on one hand, the president on the far right on the other, and they're both going to try to enact their own reforms and block the others. So we think about our current Congress as making the United States ungovernable because of how polarized we are. But having both a prime minister and a president as dual heads of state to be this far on opposite sides means that's taken to a whole new level.
Right. And I don't know when the next presidential the Polish presidential election is. It looks like it's in 2025.
I think so. The parliament has an election coming up later in 2024.
Okay.
So that will be an opportunity for Tusk's party to try to retake some control.
Got it.
We'll have to see how it goes.
Understood.
Yeah.
Okay.